Alright folks, welcome back to the channel. You found us here at KGB Customs LLC. We like to share what we think are some of the finest custom handguns and informative videos about custom handguns here on YouTube, and we also post on Rumble as well. Today's pistol is a neat example, a late 80s build from Nelson Ford, the Gunsmith, in Phoenix, Arizona. I say the Gunsmith. He's certainly not the only gunsmith in Phoenix, but his company's name is The Gunsmith, Inc. Nelson's been in the business a good long time. Certainly today his name is more associated with Smith & Wesson revolvers. The tuning and repair of Smith & Wesson revolvers versus the Colt pattern semi-automatics like this. But Nelson certainly did not only work on Smith & Wessons for the past 40 some years, 45 years. Nelson's been at this a while. Nelson, I'll go ahead and just quote a recent article by my friend Greg Motes. Nelson is a graduate of the Colorado School of Trades and has been a full-time, self-employed gunsmith since his graduation in 1980. The curriculum for the school was rigorous. Failure is a great teacher, and according to Nelson, you gotta screw up a lot of stuff in order to get good. Finding out what won't work is a large part of the learning process. Diagnostic skills are as necessary as mechanical ability for the professional gunsmith. I'll pause the quote of Greg's article there and say that that is something that I think is very overlooked in the custom pistol building industry, in that the ability to troubleshoot and solve problems inside a weapon system, not just the one that you particularly like to work on, it should be a requirement. We should be I guess forced to learn multiple platforms and the multiple issues with feedway stoppages and breakages and malfunctions and how to solve those problems and general repairs on metal and wood and that kind of stuff. Maybe that's just me being I guess an old curmudgeon, but I did general repairs on guns for 7 years prior to focusing in on pistol smithing, and I think that it really kind of opens your mind to solving problems even when you focus on just one or two platforms. Now back to Greg's article. Part of Nelson's intuitive understanding of the history, ergonomics, and tactical efficiency of firearms comes from a long background of competitive shooting in multiple disciplines. He has shared the shooting range with Rob Latham and Terry Allison, and had shooting dignitaries like Smith & Wesson historian Roy Jinks in his shop. Few people can challenge his insight into the use and history of the Smith & Wesson revolver. I had been confident in my basic knowledge of revolvers when he explained end shake corrections and proper headspace and flash gap dimensions. I was able to keep up with him. Then we got into the discussion on timing the action, and he started explaining the difference between Colt's step hand and Smith & Wesson's bypass hand. The discussion was quickly over my head. When he transitioned into the differences of disassembling a Smith & Wesson cylinder versus a Colt cylinder, he might as well have been speaking in tongues. He truly is a walking encyclopedia of revolver specifications. And that's true of Nelson 100%, but it's not just Smith & Wesson revolvers. I talked to Nelson on the phone a number of times. I had some of his guns in here last year to sell, and then this one, and we spoke on the phone when I got this one in. And Nelson's knowledge of the Colt platform and the Series 80 and all the parts and what he was using then and what worked and what didn't is really pretty deep pool. Tearing into the gun here, on the top, up front, we've got one of Nelson's signature moves, a domed gold bead. This one is inset in a slot in the slide and soldered in place. The flat top has been, the slide has been flat topped and serrated. The rear has a deluxe Bomar cut with a Bomar BMCS sight in it. You'll see the port has been lowered and flared here. The gun has a nice mild D-horn on it, full-length guide rod, and a King's match bushing up front. Moving back the gun, we have a modified Colt hammer, commander hammer there. Tuned internals, of course. The barrel's been throated, ramps polished. Lightweight 3-hole trigger. What I believe is an early Wilson thumb safety. I didn't ask Nelson about that. He did tell me that this is a Clark's grip safety, and he switched to Ed Brown in the late 80s, early 90s. So this is, being an 88 gun, one of the last Clark old-style beaver tails he fit. And when I mentioned to Nelson on the phone, I said, man, Nelson, that's probably the cleanest, most graceful install of the Clark's grip safety I can remember seeing, both in how tight it is to the frame and just how the lines travel top and bottom congruently with the frame lines. Now that's fussy business. It's not necessary for a well-functioning grip safety or even a comfortable grip safety. But I do appreciate looking at them and them being pleasing to the eye. And Nelson nailed that on this one. When I mentioned that, Nelson said, well, I used to have a sign in the window. And that sign said, home of the super fit beaver tails. Back when he was doing a fair bit more 1911 work, evidently he understood that the extra time spent here was worth advertising. And he did. In his front window, he had a painted sign that said home of the super fit beaver tails. So, you know, we those of us who've been on internet forums around 1911s for a while know that the beaver tail fit has been a hot topic in recent years. And I say recent years, but we're going back probably 15, maybe 20 years at this point. You had guys like Chuck Rogers and Lou Biondo and Bob Rogers all, you know, posting very high quality pictures of their beaver tail fits, and frankly, many of them were seamless unless you depressed them. And it just shows that long before, I mean, this gun was built before the internet existed, and you know, Nelson was already paying attention to it then. Bringing up Chuck Rogers is worthy mentioning here too. He and Nelson were friends and worked alongside each other on lots of builds. Chuck would do a lot of machine work for Nelson on 1911s. These front cocking serrations were machined by Chuck. The flat top and serrate was done by Chuck, and the Bomar install, Nelson tells me, was also Chuck. So he would have the slide sent, you know, take it over to Chuck's and have the machine work done, and then get it back and finish the build fitment. The gun has a domed and checkered extended magazine release there, button, oversized button. I think that's either probably a King's part. It could be a Baylor part too, now that I'm looking at it. But nonetheless, front strap nicely checkered. Front of the trigger guard checkered. We've got a Smith & Alexander arched mainspring housing checkered there as well. The gun, while it has been used, should be a great shooter for anyone still today. The frame to slide was peened a little bit to refit it when the gun was originally built, and it's still pretty tight even after all these years. Looks to me like somebody probably competed and or carried this gun off and on through the years. But judging by the dried oil in it when I got it, it hasn't seen much use in recent years. But that's all going to change here soon. It's on its way to a new home, and I know the new customer is looking forward to getting it. This gun does, a lot of gunsmiths in the 80s were taking 80 series parts out of guns. Nelson was not. He learned how to tune those 80 series parts for reliability and a good trigger. And this gun has a great trigger. for an 80 series gun. And you know, we use that caveat like it means something, as a crutch, if you will. But this trigger is probably right at 4.25 pounds with intact 80 series parts in it, and it's crisp. And I'll drop a link in the description to Nelson. Nelson started a YouTube channel kind of just sharing his knowledge, and the channel is magnificent. I encourage you all to get over there and watch his stuff. But I will drop a link in the description to his video on the Series 80 safety parts and how he actually appreciated them at the time, and what they meant to gunsmiths and users at the time. I really thank you all for tuning in. If you would, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. There will be some boxes pop up here at the end where you can subscribe or check out other videos. If you like this one, we've got lots more content here on the channel for you to check out. Thanks for tuning in.